Health, wellness, well-being. I mean, we're all hearing about it now. And I think every time I turn around, this whole idea of health, how do you feel? Sickness, wellness, cancer even. I mean, it's everywhere right now. And then with the pandemic, it just like, I felt like blew up. And as we were all in our homes, we started realizing these two are connected, that health and wellness and how we feel and our mental well-being and what is literally inside our walls all converged and all mattered. So what better time to introduce you to a very dear friend of mine, Jillian Pritchard-Cook, and the founder of Wellness Within Your Walls. And Jillian, when we started this journey 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it was very different. That wellness has not changed.
Living green or sustainably is about more than saving on your electric bill and doing your part to protect natural resources. It is about a safer and healthier life for you and your family without sacrificing style, quality, or budget. This is a movement to provide all of us with clean air to breathe and water to drink, safe, healthy food to eat, and places to live, and energy to run the places where we live, learn, work, and play. Join your host, Marla Esser-Close, the Green Home Coach, to learn how everyday green homes work for you, your family, and your community.
Hi, y'all. I'm Marla, the Green Home Coach. And as you have heard, I have my very dear friend and colleague and oh my gosh, Jillian, there's just a whole bunch of adjectives I could apply to us that are all wonderful. Anyway, without further ado, I bring you Jillian Pritchard-Cook, the founder and go-getter of Wellness Within Your Walls. How are you, Jillian?
Oh, Marla, it's always great to see you. This is a highlight of my day. I'm doing well. I'm doing quite well.
For wellness, right?
Oh, yes, definitely. I'm breathing differently than I was 3 years ago, that's for sure, with a bit of a sigh of relief that we've made it through some pretty tough times. And
right.
We learned a lot.
Yes, we have. And I think we're still learning. And I guess that's a good thing. That journey should always keep going, right?
Absolutely. There's always something to adopt into your everyday thinking that you may not have considered a week ago, a month ago, 3 years ago.
Right. So you have a very compelling reason that you started Wellness Within Your Walls. And I think your story is so relatable. So many of us are experiencing things like this. And I love the fact that you took action on it. But yeah, share that story with us, would you?
I will. Unfortunately, it's not a unique story. I mean, the more I tell my story, the more I learn that other folks are going through a similar journey as the journey that I am on. 16 years ago, I was involved in the first LEED certified home in the United States in Atlanta, Georgia, with Laura and Rutherford Seidel. And they approached this home from a sustainability and systems. And they explored gray water, solar.
The whole thing.
Yeah, they had the smart home technology and water purification. They were a bit ahead of their time. Yeah. And they were able to experience the LEED certification through the point system. And we were the consultant at that time on the project. And interestingly enough, as journeys go, I was served up the worst physical, mental health challenge. I like to refer to it now as a hiccup.
Gotcha.
that you can be served up when it relates to a cancer diagnosis. And so my immediate concern was, where did this come from? How? Why? All these questions being asked. It's not genetic, so therefore it's environmental. And then it's very hard to pinpoint exactly what in the environment over that career at that time, over 40 years. And the one thing that was constant is my first career in life was interior design. And I was exposed to toxins on a regular basis. So that's what I went with. My oncologist said, there's a really high chance that that's what it is. There's no way to prove that that's what it was. And it could have been where I grew up if I was close to a landfill. Could have been if I grew up with a water source that was tainted by chemicals from a plant, and
But all of those are environmental factors that we're all
All.
subjected to.
all subjected to. And so anyway, it got to that place where you cannot pinpoint it.
Yeah.
Maybe somewhere in the faraway future, there will be that technology that you'll be able to understand how the cellular makeup changed and you can pinpoint it over time. But instead of getting caught up in that, I made the decision while I was working with Lauren Rutherford to try and bring to their home a step above what the LEAD program was about. And they've come a long way in 16 years, especially as it relates to understanding what's in products. But that was really the beginning of Wellness Within Your Walls. We were asked to write a class for ASID and IIDA CU credit. That turned into 4 classes. 4 classes turned into a quiz/test at the end that turned into a certification. And then we made the decision to do a deep dive and understand how housing is being built as it relates to energy efficiency, which, Marla, that is, as a green homes coach, as much as anyone out in the marketplace about energy efficiency.
Thank you. And it all intersects, right? And
Yeah,
I think so many of us did not really appreciate the tie between energy efficiency and indoor environmental quality, which is where health and wellness, many of the health and wellness benefits lie. And the more, it's just like we keep peeling back more layers of the onion. There's just more to it.
Yeah. And, you and I have had so many wonderful discussions about, we both support a holistic approach to the design build process. I've learned a lot from you as it relates to the shell and the performing mechanicals and systems within the home. And it's been a joy to see how you said our worlds have come together and how it's not just about building a tight box, which obviously serves well from an energy perspective. But if you don't put certain strategies into place that align with high performance and sustainability, but actually speak directly to health, and the result is that people within the home can end up with a health hiccup.
So say that again, Jillian, because that is so important, that everything's related. And if you don't take all of this into account when you're planning for energy efficiency, if you don't take the other side, the health and the wellness and the indoor environmental quality into account,
then your outcomes potentially are going to be
not good.
Well, you're going to be, it's not just cancer, right? I mean, It's lung disease, it's
asthma, allergies,
yeah,
COPD, you name it.
You name it. And, there's
tiebacks to ADHD.
Yeah, there's a lot. So worlds colliding. I have to tell them this story, our listeners. So there's a woman who was with Wellness Within Your Walls named Kathy Browning. So shout out to you, Kathy. And I kept running into Kathy. I knew her from some of the different committees that I served on at the National Association of Home Builders. And I kept seeing you show up to more and more of these meetings. And I'd literally, Kathy's like, you got to meet Jillian. I would chase you after some of these subcommittee meetings. I'm running down the halls, Jillian. And it just never, it never worked. I think I chased you for 2 years.
Well, I have to say, first of all, Kathy Browning is talk about an advocate for all that's positive and change in the building world. And she's presently the chair of the NEHB Design Committee. And what a deserving position. She's such an accomplished designer. And what a heart. The woman has a heart for everybody and everything. And I'm still thanking her for the introduction, Marla.
Well, we did finally catch
forever.
up.
Yeah, I will forever. And she is remarkable at connecting the right people. She can spend 3 seconds with you, and all of a sudden this light bulb goes off, and you've got 4 people in front of you, and she's just remarkable that way. Or resources.
Yeah.
But yeah, you, like me, we both were at the mercy of our clients, and the timing wasn't exactly perfect when we first got together. But I think it was that one of the first podcasts we did together. We've kind of been hooked at the hips.
Right.
It's been a joy. What a learning experience. What a journey. And thank you for having me on your show today.
Oh my gosh. We've been working on this for a while in various ways and various layers. So stay tuned till the end, folks, and you'll hear about another way that you might enjoy getting a little bit more of our joint journey together. And, we were talking about how we actually were matched. I guess we can call Kathy a matchmaker. We were matched.
I think you can, yeah.
Right. At a National Association of Home Builders meeting. And as any of y'all that listen to me somewhat regularly know I'm pretty involved in National Association of Home Builder and the National Green Building Standard, which is the green certification that the Home Builders Associations endorse. So one of the things that I realized very quickly upon meeting you is that this whole wellness aspect that you brought to the table with Wellness Within Your Walls was a beautiful complement and a layer to go with the National Green Building Standard or any other green certification program. So I've worked a little bit with LEED for homes. I've worked a little bit with Earthcraft or Enterprise Green Communities. There's so many different systems out there. Most of them are based on one of the national systems, but Wellness Within Your Walls brought to any of these certification programs, either on its own or in layers, this additional just oomph and this additional power and focus to the health and wellness aspects. And some of these health and wellness aspects that I don't think a lot of us have thought of before. So I think both of us felt like we kind of had made this hand in glove approach when we finally got a chance to sit down and really talk about how our worlds could converge and could complement each other. So that laid up a beautiful partnership that I am so excited to be working with you and with Wellness Within Your Walls. And I think we're making some great strides to help get more out into the world. So
yeah, and
thank
I
you
think
for that.
the way you described that as Wellness Within Your Walls being a layer. Early on, you and I discovered that your concern is the consumer and our concern is the consumer.
Right.
And whether you are a builder, developer, manufacturer, architect, designer, you're a consumer. And we go beyond the trades to who we're trying to deliver this insight to. And I think that the bridging between all that is trade related and then bestowing on the consumer the knowledge they need to carry the torch in their everyday lives with their decision-making process is what is lacking in many of the other programs. And that's what makes this that
Right.
perfect layer.
And advocate for themselves. This is one of the things I am finding that is so important, is teaching people how to stand up for themselves, how to ask the right questions. Because all too often, a home professional, a builder, a remodeler, a designer is operating on what they know. The homeowner doesn't know, or the home buyer, the home builder, I mean, anybody that is on the receiving end, they don't know to ask anything outside of what they've already known. So taking it to a new level and asking those questions about how do I make this home so that it is the best for me and the people living in it? How do I make this home so that it is the best work or the least amount of work and maintenance, and it'll help take care of us rather than me having to take care of it? So all these questions people are starting to realize they can ask. So with that, I wanted to make sure I didn't leave out. There's two key people on your team that have made us working together work so much more beautifully, and that is Nani and Rami. And I have to thank you for bringing these two lovely, lovely people into my life.
They are my right hand, my left hand, my right leg, my left leg. They are
They're
my right
becoming
brain, my
mine.
left brain. I mean, I do not function in the world of Wellness Within Your Walls without Rami and Nani, and it's just been a really beautiful triangle relationship.
And it is, and it will keep being.
Amazing, and our disciplines are different. And we are a whole team when you speak of Nani and you speak of Rami, but I appreciate you acknowledging that. And, you know, we've taken that holistic approach all the way through with everything we've done. And there's a gentleman that I've leaned in on over the years. His name is John Barrow. He's very involved with the NAHB. I had a lot to do with helping getting sustainability into the forefront with the Federation. And we had the conversations about systems, you know, and really getting me up to speed on understanding the envelope and the systems and how they work within mechanical, plumbing, electrical, ventilation strategies, et cetera. And it was a few years back where we really realized the system that was missing was a healthy living system, you know, which basically adopts everything that relates to health and wellness with the other systems within the home, but then takes it beyond the actual physical build out of the home, the built environment. And that's where we ended up with our backbone, our holistic approach to health and wellness in the building and design industry with the Healthy Living System, which is it's a 10-point system. And when I say points, it's not arithmetic, it's the strategies
Like
and
categories.
It
categories.
starts with clean air, clean water, natural light, and chemical control.
Then you've got the trifecta of physical, mental, and spiritual wellness. And spiritual is not religion. It's unplugging, it's avoiding EMFs, it's making time for all that's important. It could be meditation. Then we move into a conscious consumption, what the consumer does as they vote with their wallets every day and what they bring into their homes that is mindful. And then our ninth point is food science, which is not just nutrition, but the EWG does a great job of laying out what we should be doing as it relates to strategies of buying food for our homes and ultimately for our bodies.
For nutrition, but it's also appliance science.
And I've learned so much from some of the best kitchen and bath manufacturers inside the United States and globally on how appliance science can contribute to healthier outcomes. And that includes in the laundry room, not just in the kitchen. And then the last, and for me, the most important as it relates to the consumer, is behavioral strategies and how we conduct ourselves within our home with our behaviors put into play.
And that's kind of where I entered this whole green home thing years ago, was all on the homeowner education side. So that one's always near and dear to my heart. And I think it's the one most people can approach most easily because it's the stuff they do every day. It's teaching them how to take it from there, right? That really matters. And it was interesting timing when you and I started really working together because it was right as the pandemic was unfolding and people had more time in their homes. And so many of these strategies were things that we were hearing about people put into play almost like naturally. It was very interesting to hear some of the anecdotal stories that we were hearing about. But that shift, there definitely was this shift to health and wellness as the center of our lives because it was literally everywhere around us. I mean, I believe that focus has stayed on, maybe not to the degree that it was a year or two ago. But one of the key points that I had been harping on for years is that, HVAC is heating, ventilation, and cooling. And yet so many of our homes lacked ventilation. And then COVID comes and we realize that air strategies are important because they're helping to spread or not spread this little crazy destructive thing that was happening in our lives. So Wellness Within Your Walls has this partnership with a company that does exactly that. And that's huge.
The timing, as you said, it was just so interesting. I mean, I look at 2020 obviously as a disruptor. I also look at 2020 as being a major paradigm shift, especially as it relates to health and wellness in the home.
Yeah.
And 2020 for me, the morning of the New Year's 2020, I remember saying to my husband, isn't that interesting? 2020, that's perfect eyesight. I wonder if this is the year of alignment in some way as the way we vision the world. And 2 months later, here we are. Yeah. We have this challenge. And one of the first strategies that I put into place was because of April Air, who we have a partnership with. They shipped out these personal ventilation units that purify air. And I've got a few for the house. I put a few at the office. We weren't going in for, I think, 2 full months. But when we went back, everybody in our office that came back had these purification systems. But
more importantly, April Air was prepared for this, including new products like radon mitigating fans.
But that's been a recent dialogue with April Air and the products that they're putting out into the marketplace. But 2020, it was, a conversation about MERV ratings and their 4-inch cassette, which is 3 inches thicker than a normal filter. And it captures 99.5% of all airborne, viral, and bacterial particulates. Those words need to start being on the tips of the tongue of every consumer, male or female, as much as any wonderful dialogue you want to have about selecting backsplash tile or the perfect flooring. I mean, they go hand in hand. And I think part of the paradigm shift is seeing how we will be spending our money in the future and getting that envelope correct, getting the mechanicals, the systems correct, and looking at someone like an April Air that's paved the way as it relates to indoor air strategies.
So this kind of lays up what Wellness Within Your Walls does, because partnership is part of that. But Wellness Within Your Walls can offer several ways to help consumers, people in the business. Give us a quick overview, please.
Well, it's pretty simple. We call it the 4 Ps. Wellness Within Your Walls supports products that are healthy. We do a lot of spotting around the country and outside of the United States, getting in on the ground level to see who's getting there as it relates to technology and using alternate recipes that are healthier than they've been in the past, finding a safe substitute. We also program is people, places, programs, and as I said, products. So we're certifying people, which is basically 4 hours of understanding, this education. As it relates to the products, as I said, we're spotting. But as it relates to building from the ground up or remodeling, or even bringing a house to market for sale, we have certification programs and checklists and a healthy home toolkit that you can put into play as part of your behavioral strategy after you take possession of your home or move into your apartment. But the programs is also very interesting because every now and then we'll be in a dialogue with somebody and we learn something that we didn't realize needed the Wellness Within Your Walls attention. And so we're always willing to take on new projects that might be outside of the normal wheelhouse of residential design and application. And recently we've gotten involved in social equity and a conversation of social equity. And we're looking at helping a few nonprofit organizations get some information out to the less served community on what they can be doing to advocate for themselves, which in some cases is more than just having your home be a certain way, but it's knowing what zip code to live in.
Right.
Right.
Well, I love that it is a common sense program. It's all about education, reading labels, transparency, even packaging, right? And all of these things that are so important to us when we're making decisions about how we live our lives, how we live in our homes, what we bring into our homes and our buildings. And, there's, as I have been coaching people, it's hard to get people to change habits. And I've learned that it's better to get people to change habits than to adopt new habits. That's a little bit easier. But man, you hit it on the head the other day.
Yeah. Well, you and I, we had a little bit of a chat, right? Are you referring to you can't change overnight, but you can change over time?
Yes.
Yeah.
So true.
It is so true. And I've been saying that more and more since you and I had that conversation.
That's good.
And that really came to light when I was working with Mothers and Others for Clean Air.
Which listeners, I would look up this nonprofit group. They've really done a public service. They put out the Healthy Indoor Breathing Toolkit, and it's free.
But we love the work that they're doing because they're getting into every community organization that you can think of, whether it's churches or book clubs, garden clubs, you name it, to get the message.
And what do they advocate for? Because I don't know if a lot of our listeners know that.
They advocate for clean air, just pure
clean air for our kids.
Yeah.
Or that they start
It's the legacy that they deserve. It's what they came on this earth to do, is breathe clean air. And so it's the very least we can do is give our children and their children an opportunity to have clean air. So it's great work and it fits in so well with what we're doing. We have our 10 steps, and we have a healthy home toolkit that incorporates the partnership we did writing with them. Their clean air component is very much part of what's part of our 10 steps. So we have a section of our entire 10 steps that speaks to part of the toolkit, usable, realistic way to go about making sure that we can accomplish the 10 steps to the healthy living system. But
before we dive in to the 10 steps, what is the one thing that you think really sets your program apart?
Well, we're not scared to talk about chemicals at all because they're present.
Yeah.
In some cases, they're much needed. And let's face it, the land that is under our feet is this great planet Earth, and it's made up of gases. So we talk about natural and think natural is the best thing since sliced bread, but truthfully, natural is radon also. It's lead, it's asbestos. So that's the word we have to be super careful of.
Right.
Then when you get into the world of building products and home furnishings, there's chemicals present. And sometimes they're present for durability. Sometimes they're present from an aesthetic standpoint, there's no alternative, and you're trying to bake on a finish that will last a very, very long time, there's alternates to that. But when that is the path you're on and chemicals are a part of your building process, they're part of your design, they're part of the furnishings, we have to understand what off-gassing is all about. And that's what sets us apart. We'd prefer that our listenership would make great decisions and stay away from as many chemicals as possible. But as we just said, you're not going to change overnight, you change over time. So you can change over time if you apply off-gassing strategies when chemicals are present.
I'm in that situation right now myself with some
That's
work
right,
that
you're
we were having done
remodeling.
on the house, and we spec'd low and no VOC, and it got missed on one of the primers. So we will be off-gassing quite a bit.
Yeah,
So-
no, that is so sadly, though, that's not a unique story.
It's not.
Because our contractors will see adhesive on a spec sheet and they don't necessarily read the next line, which
Right.
gives them the specific adhesive, and they're grabbing what's on the back of their pickup truck. And, with supply and demand the way it is, and the supply chain, has a lot of issues right now, you really got to keep your projects moving. So again, it makes a real case for understanding off-gassing strategies so that you can get work done, but not put human health at risk.
Well said. Well, with that, let's go dive into the 10 healthy living system strategies.
Well, talking today with Jillian of Wellness Within Your Walls, still, and for a while to come. So we just really started looking into this whole idea of Wellness Within Your Walls offering natural, sustainable, and responsible options, especially for the things that we use inside our homes. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Sure. Well, we started with 3 different categories, slightly different categories. We had organic, natural, and sustainable. And we went down that road for about 12 months, just really trying to figure out natural and organic. And it became increasingly more evident that the word organic itself is extremely complicated. And it seemed to have a better fit in the category of natural. And where the consumer really struggles is when toxins are present and not knowing really how to handle toxins when they're present. So the toughest category is the responsible category, because unlike other organizations, we acknowledge chemicals. And a lot of organizations, they're either to the left of it or the right of it, and they're not willing to walk in the middle and figure out how to exist when chemicals are present. So that was a pretty challenging category, and we're most pleased that we've added it. We believe that if you do the best you can in designing and building using natural first, and even that's complicated because radon is natural, asbestos is natural, lead is natural. So you have to really understand good natural and not so good. Sustainability, that's the movements that have been around, whether you say sustainability through innovation or you speak to the word resiliency, those are not new words to the industry. They may be not embraced like they should be, but the work you're doing, Marla, is certainly helping builders across the United States understand how to apply sustainable strategies when building green homes, which you and I think one of the things we have most in common is we believe everyone should be building a green home. Like,
yes, ma'am.
there shouldn't be the option of green home or no green home. It should be that we're just naturally building green homes. But when we work on bringing in building materials and specifying products when in the home, or even after the consumer becomes an occupant, there's a responsibility to understanding the choices we make and how they affect our family and our legacy. So that third category was probably the most fun for us. And I work with Nani Price and with Rami Little, and they've been tremendous along with Dr. Ann Blake in really defining, I think it's 33 chemicals that are often found in the building industry and in the home furnishings industry. And we're trying to make those more accessible as it relates to looking for them when you're designing, and that transparency. And if they're present and there's no other safe option, then we really like to discuss off-gassing protocols. And so that's pretty much the basis of the three categories. It's pretty common sense. I mean,
It is very common sense.
when you
And
break it down.
as you well know, I am a Wellness Within Your Walls certified professional. And one of the things I loved about going through the training and learning more is the way that Wellness Within Your Walls handles the responsible category. So anytime, like through the National Green Building Standard or the other programs that we're looking at indoor air quality, the air that we breathe. I mean, this is something we can't live without. And most of us don't realize how much stuff is in our houses, right? But the whole idea of, okay, if you got to have this stuff, then here's how you deal with it. That's huge. And that is a conversation that I really feel needs to be elevated even more. I know you guys are doing so much to really help elevate that conversation. So, first of all, reduce what you bring in and then get rid of the stuff that you do have to bring in. I know you and I are both huge proponents of ventilation, which doesn't get discussed enough. It doesn't get done enough, most importantly. But I really have applauded. That was the one thing that was really different about going through the Wellness Within Your Walls training that I just so appreciated.
Well, you bring up air quality, and we're teaching in colleges now all over the United States. We're teaching with design departments to the interiors folks, and we're also teaching in departments that involve green science from a building perspective. And it seems that it's no surprise when we're speaking or teaching to the green science building students. But the light bulbs that go off with the interior designers is pretty unbelievable, because they do realize that they've been somewhat cheated out of the education of air quality, which is a big part of designing a healthy environment. So when they learn the different protocols as it relates to putting proper systems into a home, and particularly air quality and the systems that are coordinated around air quality, whether that's the humidity levels, whether it's the ventilation, whether it's purification, the distribution of the air, the exchanges, the ability to bring in fresh air when it is available. I mean, it's kind of difficult to bring in fresh air when you're living next to a freeway. But I found it very rewarding to hear the designers realize that they can empower themselves and have a voice at the table when a house is being designed, and ask the questions that might not normally have been asked by a designer. They may have just been asked by the mechanical engineer, and it might have been a conversation with just the builder and the mechanical engineer. And I believe the architects and designers, along with the manufacturers, have a responsibility to get the information out to the consumer on what it really does mean to have good air quality. We're really learning just how shoddily many of the homes in the United States have been built. There's a lot of hope for new home technology. I mean, I think you and I really have enjoyed seeing the steps that our own committee at NAHB is taking to make sure that air quality is a number one concern.
So clean air is, I believe, the first part of the healthy living system.
Yeah.
It's pretty darn important to us living. So we're going to go with that one. What else is in the healthy living system? I know there's 10.
Well, the next one is having a lot of exposure in our industry as well, and that's clean water. But when we talk about water, up until recently, it's really been more about consumption, which is a huge concern.
Right.
I am concerned about water consumption, but I'm more concerned about what's in our water.
Yeah.
And we look to great groups like the Environmental Working Group, as I know you do as well, and their zip code campaign for water. And you can go on their website and look up and see what's in your water. And you shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, that's a cool tool. I didn't know about it until recently. And for those of you that haven't heard of it, you can go to the Environmental Working Group's website, ewg.org, and there's a tool in there that enter your zip code and it will assess your water in your zip code. It's kind of a good way to know, at least know what you're drinking.
Absolutely. And then you can test your own water and make decisions that are good for you and your family on how you might want to add nutrients back into your water or strip out whatever chemicals you can. But that's a real deep dive on the category of water. It's pretty unbelievable what's in our drinking water throughout the United States and the world.
So one of the things that I'm often running into is kind of the head in the sand syndrome, if you will, because some of this is really scary. a lot of us just kind of go on with the ignorance is bliss. And I understand that. But what I really hope that our listeners get is that the first step to fixing something is understanding it.
Absolutely.
We're going to, we have to share a little bit of the reality of what is happening out here, not so much to scare you, just to scare you, but to get you to take action. And one of the things that both of us are incredibly, incredibly strong about is the belief that we must share solutions. And share solutions that you can take right now, not just big building solutions when you build a new house or remodel. So things that you can do right now. Jillian, we need to just take a quick breather here. And then when we come back, we are going to go through the other 8 aspects of the healthy living system. And we'll wrap up with where y'all can find more information on this and get started in your own home. So hang tight. We'll be right back. You probably don't have the time, resources, or know-how to research and shop for better options for you and your world. That's why I've done it for you. The Everyday Green Home Shop is my curated collection of better products for a safer, healthier, more comfortable life in your home. Through simple buying choices, you can change your home easily. My book laid out the how to do it. Now, the Everyday Green Home Shop gives you a place to put those ideas into action with your buying choices. I invite you to look through the online shop and choose an item or two to swap for something you usually buy for your home. Once you make a selection, it will take you to one of my trusted affiliate sites or the Amazon site you already use. Super easy. Products on Everyday Green Home range from indoor-outdoor rugs made from recycled plastic to my husband's favorite reusable silicone straw that fits in his pocket. I look for third-party independent green labels or go through a trusted third-party verification process to validate the products I curate for you. Go to everydaygreenhome.com for what you need to create a stylish, safer, and healthier home easily. So, Jillian, before we get to the other 8 parts of the healthy living system, I'm going to tell our listeners to hang around until the very end because we have a big surprise to tell you all about. So stick around, and Jillian, let's get on with the rest of the healthy living system.
Well, number 3 is natural light. And there's been so much discussion in recent months about circadian rhythms. And there are lighting systems that you can put in place to help get the balance within your circadian rhythms. We believe wholeheartedly that natural light, everyday exposure, has a lot to do with having healthier outcomes. I mean, it's been proven that a certain amount of sun exposure gives you the vitamin D that's necessary to fight cancer and other diseases. So that's been a great category for us. Just opening up your windows as it relates to not having too many coverings or shades. And when you do have the shades at the time of the day, that helps with your reduce the heat and reduce energy consumption. So
all about balance, isn't it?
It's so all about balance, which is the same with all of the other steps. Chemical control is the 4th. And I especially like this category because we've all for so long thought it's just been what's underneath our kitchen sinks as it relates to cleaning products. And Marla, this is a world that you understand so well, especially with the work that you do in coaching with green homes. But we go a little bit further. We believe that it's your personal care products.
Yep.
We believe our X's are completely out of control. Not only are they tainting our water supplies, but also the youth of America is being exposed to some pretty powerful drugs that can eventually be gateways to opioids. And we believe that locking up our X's is part of chemical control. So when we do our deep dive into that category, there's somewhat of a relief to know that we will discuss a subject matter that is sometimes avoided and shouldn't be avoided, especially as it relates to getting those RXs out of the hands of folks that shouldn't have them.
Yeah.
Physical wellness, I would say that on a whole, Americans have really learned how important physical wellness is. But we believe you should have places in your home or on your property or in the community you live in that really expand upon physical wellness. And it can be as simple as walking your dog with a neighbor. Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be massive equipment.
Right.
You don't need a lot of space to just work out. And the point about even taking an animal on a walk, not only are you getting the exercise you need and your pet gets the exercise, but it's good for your mental wellness.
Yep.
If you're walking alone and you're getting in tune with your whatever mindset you're in, there's a spiritual side to that. And these are two other steps to our approach. So spiritual wellness and mental wellness. Spiritual wellness also is reducing the amount of computer time or gaming, which is a big problem with our youth, and detaching from EMFs, which is electromagnetic fields. All that comes into play with spiritual wellness. Conscious consumption, again, Marla, you so understand what that's about. When you make the decision to purchase a product for your home, whether you're building it or you're living in it, having that second thought, where is this going to end up? Landfill, non-landfill. So conscious consumption is everything.
I'm going to back you up a second, because on the conscious consumption side, I want to share this. This is an old a New England proverb, but my grandmother used to always tell me this when I was a kid, and it applies so well to conscious consumption. Use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without.
That's fantastic.
And it just fits.
Your grandmother and my grandmother would have gotten along well. She was born on a rural island, and they didn't have a lot.
They may do. Okay, Jillian. So we've been through 9 of the practices and categories. What's the last one?
Oh, well, number 10, we saved the best for last, Marla. That's behavioral strategies. And really, you take behavioral strategies and apply that right away with your decisions and choices that you make. You can probably achieve healthier outcomes sooner than you might have anticipated, because we've just basically covered 9 other steps, and they're not going to happen overnight.
Right.
But you can apply a strategy today that can help you move in the right direction as it relates to having a healthier outcome. And healthier outcomes really speak to just health in general and health insurance and the money we spend. I mean, let's face it, if you apply the 10-step healthy living system in your everyday approach, you can save money.
And get an everyday green home.
And get an everyday green home, absolutely. And it's interesting because for so long, energy efficiency has been the main concern of solving in the building industry. And it's been a little bit of a disappointment to me. And one of the reasons why we felt Wellness Within Your Walls was so needed in the industry, because if you don't build a house correctly and it's too tight and you don't have the right air strategies, you actually have a home that might not be doing anything but making you sick. So
you need to do both.
You have to do both. And I think that that's where those behavioral strategies come in, is really understanding what it means to build a home that's energy efficient, but it also is the highest level that it can be as it relates to human health.
Good for you.
And you save money on energy, and then you save money on your health bills.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about habits, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah. Jillian, the healthy living system is so insightful and offers so many ways for people to improve the living in their homes and their buildings. And I'm just such a huge advocate and a fan, as you well know. That's why I like working with you.
I appreciate that. We wouldn't be where we are today if we haven't had wonderful experts like yourself, Marla, championing our work and being an early adopter.
So champion is such a perfect word. You must have read my mind, because you have truly been a champion of wellness and of helping people to connect wellness and health into their homes and their buildings. And I'm so thrilled that you have recently been appointed as a global wellness ambassador. I cannot think of anybody better to be in that position. So yay.
So I'm very excited about this new role. The Global Wellness Institute has been a great resource for us, and we've been watching them grow over the years, and they really are in every space that when we speak to wellness, whether it's personal care products or it's doctors and nurses and pediatrics, whether it's travel to wonderful resorts around the world that speak to health and wellness. And they're really excited about their next stages as it relates to health and wellness and housing, and not just buildings that are of a commercial nature. You know, we've got commercial, then you've got multifamily dwellings, and then you've got the single family. Their concerns are in all aspects as it relates to building. So it's going to be really nice to tap into a global network. And we believe that what we are offering with the work we've done all these years with Wellness Within Your Walls will be a nice match. But thanks for mentioning that.
Can't wait to see where it takes you. And in closing, we invite all of you to come listen to our podcast, because Jillian, you and I started a podcast a while back ago, and it's more of a series. So, keep checking back for new episodes. But this has been just a really fun way for us to do episodes about each step of the healthy living system. So join us. Yeah,
the name of the program is Healthy Home, Take Control. That is our podcast. And Marla, maybe we should give a shout out to the first one with Bill Hayward. It's
that was so fun.
With what we've been talking about today. That segment's on clean air. And that was also sponsored by April Air. They've just been very good to Wellness Within Your Walls. So anyway,
So
we have a few more to finish up.
We do. So check it out on your favorite podcast app. So another one to add to your arsenal, in addition to the Everyday Green Home podcast, you now have the Healthy Home Take Control podcast. And we've had great opportunities to interview some really fun people, a few celebrities in there, people that you may know. So check it out. Jillian, it's always such a pleasure to work with you and to share our joint passion with the world. And, I know it's just such a great joy to work with people that really care about helping people to live a better life.
Oh, well, I'll have to say ditto, Marla, on that one. I look forward to being on the air with you again soon.
We will see y'all soon on one or the other podcast. And in the meanwhile, have a great green day.
That wraps this episode of the Everyday Green Home podcast. Get the show notes with all the resources mentioned in this episode. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Want more? Join the Love Your Everyday Green Home private Facebook group for more resources and behind-the-scenes insights. And remember that living a little better and greener is easier than you think.